got to give a little love to the Oklahoma faithful because we have a lot of Oklahoma fans that follow this channel, which is hysterical because we take place in Waco, Texas, which is right down the road from Baylor University. So to all you Sooner faithful, thank you. Y'all have been through it the last 4 months. Like the last 4 months have been the equivalent to me of like a Netflix documentary series. You talk about from October 9th when Spencer Rattler gets benched all the way until present day when Caleb Williams enters the portal, Dillon Gabriel jumps in. We're just going to go through the sequence of events to catch everybody up because there's been a lot of them. So first off, Rattler gets benched for Williams. They're still 9-0. Like Spencer Rattler hadn't lost a game that season, or this season I should say, as Oklahoma starting quarterback. Caleb Williams takes over and he's the man. Like everybody and their mother is just all over Caleb Williams, the Caleb Williams phenomenon, and they get to 9-0, and then they finish the year 10-2. Have a chance to clinch their own spot in the Big 12 title game, and they end up losing, falling short. They're not in the title game. So pretty soon after that, a good, 24 hours later, if even that, Lincoln Riley says deuces. Better weather in USC. Also, allegedly, they're throwing the bank at him as well as his own private jet, house, all that and the other. Lincoln Riley left. Then you have Bob Stoops take the reins for the interim. And like he just gave the best introductory press conference for an interim head coach I've ever seen. Brent Venables gets hired. Alamo Bowl win, the passing of the visor from Stoops to Venables. Caleb Williams soon after goes into the portal, which then creates a mass exodus of the transfer portal from Mario Williams to Woods. We could go down the list here of all the guys that have left Oklahoma even before Caleb Williams with Rattler and Stogner. It's been a mass exodus. And then hours later, notice the theme here, hours are sort of the metric of time in which things are happening. Like it's not a couple months later you get a new quarterback. It's hours after Caleb Williams jumps into the portal, you get a new quarterback, and Dillon Gabriel flips from UCLA to Oklahoma, which brings us to present day. So if you missed all of the events that had happened leading up to this, you are now up to speed. That has been the saga that has been Oklahoma football as of late. And there's a couple things that need to be addressed here. First and foremost, there have been 4 enormous dominoes that have occurred in the span of those 4 months. Most teams have none. If any team does have a domino that falls, like a head coach gets replaced, or you change quarterbacks, or you have a key player go in the transfer portal, they get like 1 or 2 a year. Oklahoma had 4. 4 dominoes fall with Riley leaving, Venables being hired, Caleb Williams leaving, Dillon Gabriel transferring in as your new starting quarterback. You can even have a 5th domino in there if you want to consider Spencer Rattler being benched and then getting into the portal. Like there's been so much that has occurred at Oklahoma. So let's just take inventory and what we have learned and observed and seen from Oklahoma over this time period. First and foremost, let's give credit to Oklahoma because they were decisive every step of the way. A lot of times you have a big-time head coach leave and you just leave a school reeling. Like schools are just left kind of shocked, open-handed, concerned, in panic mode. Credit Oklahoma. It was a very short time period that occurred from Lincoln Riley leaving to Brent Venables being hired. And they were very decisive. It was, okay, Riley's gone. Let's go get our number 1 guy, Brent Venables. Perfect fit, perfect for OU. He's a great face for OU, great face for the program. Could not be a more home run hire for this program. Then you have Caleb Williams, jumps in the portal. No flinch from Oklahoma. 0 flinch. That's all right. Dillon Gabriel, he's our guy. Hours later, boom, got him. No concern, no flinch, no hesitation, no sign of weakness from Oklahoma, and credit to that. Second, the vibe in Norman, from what I can tell, from our own assessment, and from our pulse that I feel like we have on the Oklahoma Sooners, which I think is pretty credible at this point in time, it's very positive. For a team that's lost their starting quarterback, really 2 starting quarterbacks, and a head coach in the last 4 months, vibe is very positive. And they're, I think, also very much encouraged and excited and appreciative of the way that Oklahoma has handled the Caleb Williams departure. There was never any sort of inclination they were going to cater to Caleb Williams in this whole saga. Because a lot of teams, I think a lot of administrations would have said, Caleb, that's all right. We understand you're still considering us. Take your time. Your spot's here whenever you want it. Oklahoma said, we're Oklahoma. Do you know who commits to us? Do you know what we've done in the last several years? I don't care who's the head coach. Stoops, Riley, doesn't matter. You know how many quarterbacks have come through here and done great things? You want to leave? You're lost. We're going to have Dillon Gabriel. He's waiting right now to come and take your spot. And within an hour, they had his vacancy filled. And so I think the Oklahoma Sooner fans appreciate that. I originally said I think Caleb Williams is someone that the Sooner fans wish well. I might have taken a step too far in saying that. I think they wish him well, but I don't think there's any love lost, if that makes sense. Like, I'm sure they still want the best for him, but there's not any sense of, man, I wish he'd come back. The Sooner faithful are keeping it rolling, and credit to them for that. The brand at Oklahoma will look different under Brent Venables. We can all agree on that. It's not going to be Lincoln Riley. If it was going to be Lincoln Riley, it would have been an internal hire, okay? It would have been an internal hire from his staff, what was left of them, to take the head coaching job. Oklahoma is very content with taking on a new look. And that new look, to my best estimation, will be more physical. It'll be a little more not focused on the defense, because I think the offense is still going to be the selling point and the focal point of this entire team. But they're going to give more attention to the defense. They're going to make it a point to have a good defense. Anytime you hire a defensive coordinator as your next head coach, like we might have done here in Waco with Dave Aranda at Baylor, your team is going to take on that persona and understand, okay, we play defense here. That's just what's coming with Brent Venables. He's not going to be the defensive coordinator. He said that in his opening press conference, but they're going to make it a point to have a defense that's stout. And if you look at the way the conference is trending, you look at the way that it's shifting from, honestly, the beginning of this season, defense is what's the new flavor right now in the Big 12. Mike Gundy, typically an offensive coach, did a great job with Jim Knowles, who's obviously not there anymore, but they did a great job to have a solid defense, played for a conference title. Dave Aranda and Ron Roberts, one of the best defenses in the country, win the conference. It used to be, hey, 7-on-7, sling it around, go 5 wide. That's not the way it works in the Big 12 anymore. That's not what's going to win you the conference anymore. And so for Oklahoma, I think you should be very encouraged that you have a guy like Brent Venables taking over your football program at this point in time. The brand will look different, but Oklahoma's still going to recruit their guys. There was a lot of panic, I think, early on with Malik Brown decommitting and Malachi Nelson decommitting. It's still Oklahoma. It's still one of the blue bloods of college football. It's still one of the best brands in college football. So we can all just take a deep breath. Oklahoma's not going to sink. They may not be a New Year's 6 team next year. They could be. I think it's too early to talk about that. They may not be a college football playoff team next year. But there are still the pieces, there's still the makeup, there's still the attractiveness of Oklahoma to recruits, and honestly to guys in the transfer portal. We haven't even talked about that yet. They're going to be able to do some things in the portal because of getting a guy like Dillon Gabriel and then having an offensive coordinator like Jeff Lebby. Still a very attractive spot for a lot of guys. Still a very attractive spot for offensive guys, contrary to, I think, what some of the opinions are around the quote-unquote expert circle. One more note I want to make. Credit to the Oklahoma fan base. There has been very little complaining or whining about the way that Caleb Williams left OU. Because the first thing I thought when Caleb Williams announced he was leaving was, oh, there was tampering. And there may very well have been tampering, but there was not a peep on a majority front from the Sooner faithful that they were sensing foul play. The majority sentiment that I understood was Caleb Williams wants to leave. He doesn't want to be here. That's fine. When I think a lot of fan bases would have kind of felt like they got slighted, kind of felt like, hey, somebody came in here, did something against the rules. Again, I don't know if this is true or not. This is the feel I have on it. Somebody came in here, did something against the rules, got in his ear, whether it's an agent, whether it's, God forbid, someone else with another program, and just floated the idea of another school, which, again, is illegal to my understanding. But that hasn't been anything that's been whined about, complained about, or honestly anyone's been upset about in the Oklahoma circle. So credit to Oklahoma, credit to their fan base, credit to their administration. I'm really excited to see what this program does because for the longest time, Oklahoma's been the top dog in the Big 12. They won the conference 6 years in a row before this year. Now, they've had a mass exodus of personnel, of coaches. They're kind of getting up off the mat. There's nothing more dangerous than a dog that's hungry. You're going to have to keep an eye on Oklahoma.